The chronological Bible reading for January 27th is Genesis chapters 43 through 45. When Joseph's brothers, Jacob's sons, came back and told their father all that took place in Egypt, he couldn't really believe it. "Why'd you give them our family secrets?" he wondered. "You are not going back there," he said. He thought, the conviction of his heart. Do you wonder how long it had been since these men returned, having left behind their brother Simeon, until the time that they had used up all of the grain that they had taken with them back from Egypt? Jacob says, okay, go back, get more food. And Judah, his son, says, we can't go back. This man told us if we don't bring our youngest brother with us, he's not going to even see us. He accused us of being spies. Even Simeon is still there being held in prison. Our hands are tied, Father. Jacob relents. He gives in. He sees no other way out, and he has to be willing to relinquish the thing that is most dear to him. Could it be that Jacob was idolizing his own children, that the well-being of young Benjamin was more important to him than anything else? Could it be God brought him to this place so that he would be forced to let go of the one thing he had placed above God in importance in his life? Finally, in resignation, in verse 14, Jacob says, if I am deprived of my sons, then I am deprived. So be it. Let it be. I have no choice in this matter. God has brought us to this point, and so all we can do is appeal to God. Please, God, have mercy. No doubt God is working in Jacob's heart, and God has relayed this story for us in this way so that we can understand what Jacob was going through and apply it to our own lives. What is it that we are elevating above God in importance? God is saying, let go, resign yourself to me. Whatever it is that you value so much, just let it go, even if it is your own life. It's interesting because Jacob had to let go of the one thing that he cared so much about in order to get the thing that he thought he had lost forever. Of course, we know the end of the story. Jacob finds out that his son Joseph, whom he loved, is the Lord of the entire nation of Egypt. Imagine how Jacob must have felt, not knowing if God would in kindness bring back to him his youngest son. When he saw these wagons arrive to bring him and his wives and all of his family and whatever precious belongings they had to take them back to Egypt, not only to receive back his youngest son Benjamin, but also Benjamin's oldest brother Joseph, whom, as far as Jacob knew, Joseph had died 22 years before. And when Jacob and his family stepped into the will of God, they entered into the land of Goshen. And even though this worldwide famine was going to last for another 5 years, a total of 7 years, Jacob and all of his sons, all of their family, all of their livestock, everything they owned would be shielded in this land of Goshen. It's a picture of this place of God's holy protection in the midst of the trials and the plagues that are facing the world. It'll be 400 years later when Moses is raised up to lead Jacob's descendants out of this land of slavery, when God pours out his wrath on Pharaoh's hard heart through the 10 plagues, and the people of Israel are protected because they're dwelling in the land of Goshen. In the midst of the trials of this world, God will protect his people if we're listening to him, if we're in the place that he wants us to be. For this reason, it's so important that we listen to him, that we listen carefully to him. God, where is it that you want me to be? God, what is it you want me to be doing? I need to be close by your side. As Moses later says, I don't want to go anywhere unless you're going to be with us. It doesn't make sense for me to go because I can't do this on my own. I need to be where you want me to be, Father, so that I can be dependent upon your provision and your protection. Because nothing within me is going to bring me to a place of being okay. I need you, and you are all I need. The other important lesson that I get from today's reading is in chapter 45, when Joseph reveals his identity to his brothers, who have been dealing with their guilty consciences for over 20 years. When he responds to them in love, he embraces them, he weeps over them, and he says, "Don't be mad at yourselves for what you did to me. God sent me here. You intended it for evil, but God used it for good. God sent me ahead of you to preserve many lives, to preserve you as a remnant. Brothers, it wasn't you who sent me here, it was God." Of course, we know in this line of thinking, Christians today often want to quote Romans 8:28, "God works all things together for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose." And some people misunderstand what the word good means. What is good to God might not feel good to us much of the time. It was good for God to send Joseph there to be a prisoner, to be a slave, to be afraid, to be falsely accused, to be imprisoned. Joseph, all of those years, he was in training. He was being prepared for such a time as this. He was prepared for the reunion with his brothers. He was prepared to lead all of Egypt. Surely those 13 years of preparation didn't feel good, but they extracted the most good because God used all of it. Finally, Joseph partnered with God to forgive and to bless, to protect and to provide. When we have a godly perspective, like Joseph did, we are fulfilling Isaiah 40:31. We are rising up with wings as eagles, looking down, seeing the whole picture, not having this earthly perspective of only seeing what's directly in front of us. In his sovereignty and humility, delights in partnering with us. And he gets to do so when we humble ourselves and accept it, because that's what his word tells us and shows us over and over again. God bless you, my friends. Thank you for being on this journey through the Word of God with me in 2025. We'll see you tomorrow.